platforms. Haiwezekani. The same way and the strength and the zeal ambayo tunaona nao wanapiga mdomo, if they would have done that, at least, even if it's not at parliament, at least at cabinet level, because they are members of the cabinet. They are. The other important factor, shida ya uchumi mara nyingine sio pesa. We can give you money. The way they announce supposedly, so every constituency will give you this much. I want to ask you, if you do not formulate policies that are supportive to the people of Kenya, it never matters how much money you give them, my friend. Itaisha. And that is why I want you to keenly listen to us. We're talking about serious policy issues that will make you grow, will grow our economy, and will create an enabling environment for you to grow without depending on government, my friend. Hautegemei serikali. Ukitaka kufanya biashara utafanya. Government watengeneze policies na mienendo ya kukusupport, itafanyika. And our government, I'm going to be very much in that government. Muniangalie hivi tu. Takuwa hapo katikati. Because mimi mwenyewe I've got future plans. Lakini unajua, naambiaga watu, if any one of you want to be president in the future, like the way I do, the only way is to ensure we support Baba. He clears the way for many others like us in the future. Ndio ujisikie Mkenya ambaye it does not matter where you come from, but you have the right or the democratic right to vie for or choose to run for any seat in the Republic of Kenya. Tuko pamoja hapo? Tuko pamoja? Tumekubaliana? Sote tutatembea sisi wote pamoja? Kama Waswahili wanasema watajua sisi ni wanoko. Mimi usemanga kule mtaani, tunawaambia safari hii wacha wajue kama ni mbaya mbaya, na kama ni noma noma, lakini tutakuwa wapi? Hapo. Mbona mjui Kiswahili nyinyi? Hebu rudieni, kama ni mbaya kama ni mbaya, kama ni noma, asanteni.
Baba, today people are very excited and very happy. Wanatuma message, wanasema hata wenye wako na kitu yao kidogo watauza, na ili waensure ya kwamba you become the president of the Republic of Kenya come next year August. Au namna gani? Shabana au namna gani? Baba, hawa watu, kwa sababu sasa mimi nimekuwa mmoja wa familia yako, mimi nitawaleta nyumbani kwetu Bondo. Na baba huko tukikuja Bondo, kwa sababu hii curfew tutamaliza hii maneno ya corona, tunataka tutengeneze Mugithi, tulete Samido wetu na nyinyi kule from that side, tukutane Moi International Stadium usiku mzima, to dance Mugithi, to dance Raitani Ohanga, na si tufurahie, because we must continue this conversation beyond this hall. As I make my remarks, I said that it is in this university where my leadership skills were sharpened, and I'm still a believer in the written word of God. There is somebody who has been going around Mount Kenya region claiming that he owns Mount Kenya region, and as the last born of His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, I want to answer him by the written word of God in John 10 verse 1, and I read, "Truly I say to you, he who does not go through the door into the place where the sheep are kept, but gets in by some other way, is a thief and an outlaw." In Mount Kenya region, before the late John Mishuki died, he told us we have only one gate, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And as we speak right now, we only have that one gate, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Anybody else using any other door, I have not said it, the Bible has said it, is a thief and an outlaw. So if you are going claiming that you own Mount Kenya and you're in Mount Kenya and you've not gone through our door, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, our president, you are just confirming that you are a thief and an outlaw. our president has laid the foundation for this country. And those that are in construction know how much work, how much input, how much resources you put when laying a foundation. That's the most expensive part of any structure. But that is not enough. We need a man who will continue with what our beloved president has started. It is true, we are in the right trajectory, but we are in a defining moment as a country. As Joshua of the Bible will tell the children of Israel, I put the same questions to you today. Choose ye today who you will follow, who you will believe in. A leader who is seated here, or a dealer who is not here. A Democrat who is seated right here, or a dictator who is not here. The light which is here, or the darkness that is not here. But I, Ngugi, I do swear today that I will be on the right side of the history, and I believe so do all of us in this hall. Are we together? Watu wetu kwa pamoja? Tutatembea hii safari pamoja na Baba? No, I can't hear you. Are we going to walk this journey together with Baba? Are we going to walk this journey together with Baba? Iwe noma ni noma, iwe mbaya ni mbaya. Sawa sawa. Now, because Your Excellency, we have our Mount Kenya Youth Blueprint that we would want to present to you. I would kindly request the speakers here, Captain, the speakers, kindly, and as they come, there is something that we want to launch today. It is called Baba Dance. Baba, si mnajua venye Baba huwa na dance. So wewe lazima siku hii ya leo uwashe kasimu kako, Jemo. Kuja chapa hii maneno as we present this thing.
Unajua tumesema lazima tu dance to Baba's tune, si ndio? Na sisi tunajua style yake, si ndio? Nataka kila mtu asimame, simameni kidogo. Baba, I request you kidogo. Leo tuna launch officially hiyo Baba dance yako. Sasa hiyo ndio itakuwa inatumika. Si ndio? Tuko tayari? DJ, unaangalia steps Cheza. Tunasondeka. Are you ready? Tunasondeka. 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 Are you ready? Are you ready? Nikuje. DJ. Naona ni kama hamuelewi hii dance Hii dance mkutano yote ndio itakuwa inachezwa. DJ tupatie ngoma. Angalia steps, ndio? Haya, twende basi. Tunasondeka. Are you ready? Tunasondeka. 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 Are you ready? Are you ready? Nikuje. Nikuje. Tunasondeka tete kuna soke. Siku tatu kwanza nisharipa toke. Tena smartphone sina pin dogo. Kuna magoko na hapa minyojogo. Niko na idea, chungo taingia. Zira isi uliza hadi nadia. Makunyeto saka unadhiki. Na majero so. Haya. Vijana oye. Dansi umejua. Sasa hiyo ndio tunatembea nayo. Senator, endelea.
Asante sana, tunaweza tukaketi. Huu ni mkutano wa kwanza ambao tumeanza hii conversation, na utakuwa na limuru yetu wenyewe kama vijana. Sawa sawa. Ninajua kuna ule mkutano mkubwa sana wa limuru 3 utakuwa, lakini kama vijana pia tutakuwa na mkutano wetu whereby will officially endorse the prime minister. Tumemwendorse hapa, lakini huo mkutano we want to come out in our numbers, kwa sababu sisi Your Excellency, vile nilikuambia, hawa si vijana tu, ni viongozi wa vijana. Everybody seated here today, they have their own network. And the message that they are going to take home is that we are ready to work with you, because today you have been a listening father. Asante sana. I want to, DJ, kuna mwimbaji ndugu yetu hapa kutoka Meru. DJ, I hope you are ready. Before baba kuja to address. DJ, tusimame wote, tusimame.
Meru wewe. Mount Kenya wewe. Unajua sasa wa Meru pia wanaenda siku hizi, sio? Ningependa pia baba test ladha ya muziki wa nyumbani, si ndio? Haya, tuimbe basi kwa pamoja. Ati oni kwenda kama rembo, oni kwenda pare, oni kwenda kama simbo, oni kwenda switi, atena manzo akirikiri, temo kali za biribiri, ambekeja siri siri, batutege torenjerene, twetete kinyandukene. Twende sote. Oni kwenda kamware, twete kwetu kamware, wakadhongi kamware, nimpendesa baba. Oni kwenda kamware, wakadhongi kamware, twete kwetu kamware, nimpendesa na andugere kamokimo, na kagoku kamokino, otuku nikilatino, wela mtegwana, hey, tumshori Filipino, gote sarome kanankiro, kwenkoro kinyampigo, ole tembana, batutege torenjerene, twetete kinyandukene, newe nkwenda ya mwisho tukimalizia, sio? Hapo sasa. Sikia ladha ya nyumbani. Ati mkona ganda mwigaitia, rojero kena mambe. Hapo dagitare mwendaiga, ombite makambe. Ati mwakijore andena juu, kinyauke jana kigeni. Tena mbesa shamba juu, tokarionge kavageri. Ndiyo butonya kuu, dinga vyembo ndambara, watakinyamaru, tunesieto kangara. Ende narwa igwe, ija teba mwande. Kumande mwanka igwe, 001, karibia 001 tukimalizia. Kengete, thank you so much, baba pokea salamu kwa wasanii nyumbani wa Meru pia. American singer, tunakupenda sana, karibu sana tena sana. 001. Shukran sana.
Yeah. First, let me say I am surprised by your endurance, that since we came here up to now, you are all still almost here. I'm so happy and surprised. Now, talking to the youth from Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya is the Agikuyu, Ameru, Embu, Tharaka, and Mbere. They used to be called Gema before. But how did they become such a close-knit community? It is because of the colonial past. And these are the people who really felt the brunt of colonialism at that time. Because when the struggle started, and then the colonialists declared a state of emergency, these people became a special and endangered community. I'm holding here a pass this pass. It's called Kikuyu Embu Meru Passbook. That during that state of emergency, you could never travel without this passbook. It is what enabled you to travel. And it says identity, registration number, name Simon Warurwa Ngugi, tribe Kikuyu, district Fort Hall, location Gatanga, chief Ndunu, sublocation Ruegeda, occupation clerk, age or age group 29 years. This is Kandara, October 21st, 1958. And this is movement permit. Movement from, you have to state where you come from, to where you're going to, via, valid between when and when, and the movement permit register entry number, issued out and so on and so forth. So you had to have this one here at that time. And the radio used to announce when we were young that Kikuyu, Meru, Embu ni watu hatari. Ikiwa ni mmoja akipita, piga report kwa polisi mara moja. That's how we grew up. Okay? So, and that is what has brought us together today. That's where we're coming from. But later on now, all the other Kenyans joined and it became a nationalist movement that brought independence to our country. I just want to tell you two stories very quickly. We have here with us my friend S.K. Macharia. S.K. Macharia is a living testimony to struggle, to dedication, and to achievement. Because S.K. Macharia left this country on a bus, and he had only 1,500 shillings. And he was going to the United States of America. So he went to America by road. It took him 9 months to reach America. It took him 9 months. And then now in America, he struggled, working to get money to pay fees, and he managed to study and excel. So that at 20 independent, he was now invited to come here, the story which is stated. But then even here, when he came, after he left government, he started a business. He experienced a lot of problems because there was now a regime that was anti-business. He started a company called Madhu Paper to produce toilet papers. Frustrated. Seriously, I saw this myself. And they basically closed that company. But he did not give up. He started Royal Media. Went on with Royal Media. I have been present when his offices were invaded. And the business had been invaded, they took equipment and so on. SK was fighting with the police physically when I went to join him in his office. So you are seeing here a true Kenyan patriot and a dedication, a testimony that with sacrifice, commitment, and dedication, you can achieve. SK's story, you can actually compare it to that of Mr. Hilton, who started as a shoeshine boy, or Mr. Benz, who eventually started Mercedes-Benz, or a Mr. Toyota. Yours truly here. You say we are dynasty. Dynasty, now my story. My father came from a very poor background. And he could not even go to school properly. Because my grandfather did not want to hear anything about education. Kuku yangu inasoma, mtoto yangu inasoma nini? When he started school at Maranda, primary school then, went to Maseno. Then now he was a very sad student. When the sister of a Mzungu called Carrie Francis saw him, then she told her brother that there's a young boy here who is intelligent, but he seems to be very sad. So Carrie Francis called him. And he said that my fear is that I like education, but if I go back home, I will not come back, because my father will not pay school fees. So Carrie Francis adopted him. So during school holidays, he would do menial tasks in the school and get money to pay his fees. That is how he moved from Maseno to Alliance High School to Makerere. Then, after a while, he disagreed with he came back and taught at Maseno. Eventually disagreed with the colonialists, resigned, and started a business in Kisumu. So that's where we were brought up. I was born in Maseno, brought up in Kisumu. And then those days, in Kisumu, we grew up in an estate called Kaloreni. Running around, we also used to look after cows. Those days, there were cows in the towns. Then we started education there. I remember when the king died, King George, we were made to sing by the teacher. King George wetu mfalme mkuu amekwisha aga dunia. Sijui kama atarudi tena. So we went there, we were nursery, primary 1, 2. Then our father decided that the life in town was making us too much wakora, and decided to remove us to take us to rural school, where he had gone to school. Now we were in standard 2, going to standard 3. So when we went down there, because in the rural areas, people were going to school when they were very old. So they said, these children cannot go to standard 3. We were made to start again down there, almost like as a nursery, coming up, losing 3 years of education. But that did not discourage us, because you sit in class with children, you're being taught things you already know, but you have to persevere and go on like that. Then it reached a time, because Jaramogi had disagreed with Carrie Francis, because he felt that Carrie Francis was looking down upon Africans that were not equal to Europeans. Even the school where he was teaching, there were 2 separate quarters for European teachers and quarters for African teachers. And then so their relationship became love-hate. So it came a time when my elder brother did an examination, and this was called Cape. And he passed so highly, he was one of the top children in then the so-called South Nyanza. So, and he had written his first choice, Alliance High School. And he was not taken Alliance. He was not even taken to the Kisii High School. He was taken to Maranda High School. So my father did not agree. He came to alliance with my brother, elder brother Buru, to carry Francis. Carry Francis told him, Jaramogi, I told you never to go to politics. You decided to go to politics, and you were creating a lot of problems. That's why I cannot take your child here, because he's going to create problems in this school. And I was also already told the headmaster in Kisii High School not to take him. So my father was very annoyed. Then he decided to relocate us to schools outside the country at that time. But he already did not have a passport. His passport had been impounded because he had gone to China in those days, Red China. But that's another story. He was now traveling on a passport given to him by the late Kwame Nkrumah, President of Ghana, and another one by Gamal Abdel Nasser, President of Egypt. So he took Oburu, he smuggled Oburu with him without a passport to Addis Ababa, where he got some traveling documents, and then to Khartoum, Cairo, then to Europe. Me, I was put on an OTC, a bus. From here, I traveled on a bus, OTC, to Dar es Salaam. Then when I went there, I went to Mwalimu Nyerere. Nyerere is the one who gave me a traveling document, passport. So I became a son of Mwalimu Nyerere. That's why when I go to Tanzania, they say I know I've come back home. So Mwalimu adopted me and then gave me a traveling document. That's how I ended up in Europe. But I went first to Cairo, where I was arrested because I did not have a valid vaccination certificate. In those days, smallpox and yellow fever. I was put in a quarantine at the airport in Cairo for 4 days. Then I went into town, and I lived in Cairo in an estate called Zamalek. And I became part of that society. Gamal Abdel Nasser, President of Egypt, welcomed me. And I became, because I was a soccer player, I became a member of Zamalek Football Club. And from there, now I went by ship. We drove through the desert to Alexandria. Down there we boarded a ship. We went overnight to a place called, to Syria, a port called Latakia. The ship docked because it was a passenger cargo ship. We left Latakia when the ship was still loading and went to Damascus. When I arrived, I didn't know that Damascus was on earth when we were being taught in school. So we went to Damascus after the point of place where Paul became converted. Saul became Paul. So there used to be my uncle who was very religious and he used to tell us about Damascus in heaven. So I went and got a postcard and wrote to my uncle and told him I'm in Damascus. It is on earth. From there we now travel along across the Mediterranean, the route that Peter and Paul were taken to when they were being taken to Rome because they had refused to be tried under the Jewish law. that route all the way to an island called Malta. Then in Malta there we found, met an African American who was in that island, welcomed us, we had a good time. From there we went back to Africa in Tunis, from Tunis to Algiers. From Algiers we travel now toward Gibraltar, but before getting to Gibraltar we had to be baptized in the ship, because people in the sea are very superstitious. They are dangerous point in the sea. And if you have not been baptized, a sea name, there will be trouble when you cross Gibraltar, because then you are entering Atlantic. So we were dressed in very rags, and you go and hide, they come and find you, and then they bring you out to the deck. You are taken, they're holding your hands, they draw water from the sea with bucket and pour on you. Then they baptize you. My name was a sea needle, a swordfish. That is my sea name. So that when the devils come, they will not identify you, you'll be like a sheep, like a fish. A fish. We crossed Gibraltar and entered the Bay of Biscay. Heavy winds came, carrying the ship like a piece of paper, 100 meters up and down. You are just vomiting. You drink water, you just vomit for 4 days, consecutive days. Until we reached the English Channel, then into London. London, they're speaking Cockney. I never thought that white men could be doing this manual work, the dockers. When I woke up in the morning, they were there, talking, Azungu's there. Then we went into London. We stayed there. Then we went to Germany. From there, we went from there via Rotterdam to Denmark, then into Germany. You enter there, you're a young boy, and then now, new language, you have to start learning language. I learned the German language. I was very good in language. Actually, I was top of my class in the German language. And then after that, now you begin to now do other subjects. You're learning physics, you're learning mathematics, you're learning chemistry, biology, and all those. And eventually, I did my O-levels there. Then my A-levels that time. Then I went to university, the University of Magdeburg, Otto von Guericke. Studied there. Eventually graduated. Then came back to Kenya. I had registered for a PhD in my university. I was only coming here briefly for a holiday and then go back. But when I arrived here, there were problems. The Kisumu incident, where many people died. And all of a sudden, the same night, I'm with my father in the house. A state of curfew has been declared. You can't leave. 4 days later, my father is arrested. The others had been arrested before and taken to detention. So I'm here now. I come to Nairobi, and I want to start now life here. We had been living in Nairobi during the holidays in our house. First in Bahati, then Jerusalem. So I was not a stranger to Nairobi. But now I come here and start working. I start looking for a job because I have my siblings who are still going to high school. Now I cannot go back to Europe. I applied for jobs. I got offers, railways, breweries, and the University of Nairobi. I took the university job. That's how I landed here in 1970. It was then still University College, the College of University of East Africa. The other campus was in Dar es Salaam, and the other one was in Makerere. But a few months later, the University of East Africa was dissolved. Nairobi became a full-fledged university. And then now it started here. Then one day, one of our mechanics here at the university, it's called IG Desai, comes to me and tells me, Mr. Odinga, there is an Indian who has been kicked out of Uganda by Idi Amin. He had a factory in Ginger, and he has uprooted all the machines and brought them to Nairobi. He's selling these machines because he's leaving, going to UK. He was an electrical engineer. You are the mechanical engineer, you may need to do something with those machines. So he takes me to a house of a Kalasinga in Parklands. When I go there, I see machines there, a lathe machine, a milling machine, a rolling machine, welding sets, and a press. And I tell him I can do something with this. But I paid the money. The guy was demanding 12,000 shillings, which I didn't have. My salary here was 2,500 shillings per month. But I had an Opel car I had brought from Germany, left-hand drive. I sold it, then I got the money to pay the Indian to buy those machines. I bought them. Then I now needed capital to start the plant. I was able to, then I went to a banker who used to be my father's banker, Bank of India. And then I told him I'm looking for money. I needed 20,000 shillings. Then he told me, don't come back again here to see me, because these people are going to put me in trouble. So many people are trailing you. But come in the evening at 6 o'clock, this window, and knock this way. So, in the evening I went, and I knocked at the window. He opened the window and threw 20,000 shillings at me. And that is how I started me in business. So with that, I went to industrial area. It was called then Kingston Road. Today is called Kampala Road. I rented a shed, 5,000 square feet. At that time, there were Kenyans who had been kicked out of Uganda because they were doing what was called Ugandanization. And they are here, very highly skilled workers. I hired them, and we started making these casements, doors and windows, steel windows and so on, welding. That's how I started my company. Then I met a German during the German Independence Day celebrations, and we talked in German. Then I told him I'm teaching at the University of Nairobi, but I also have a plant in Kingston Road. He said they have started Kenya Industrial Estates to help Kenyans start industries. So he came the following day to look at my factory. When he looked at it, he told me, look, we are trying to make manufacturers out of laymen who don't know. But here is somebody who knows what is supposed to do, and a qualified engineer, this project of yours definitely qualifies for financing. That is how it took me. Went to industrial estates. Then we prepared a project paper, expansion of my project. And I got a loan, 350,000 shillings. Which I now bought some modern machinery from Germany and started. That is the story of my company, East Africa Spectra Limited. I wanted to tell you those two stories of SK and myself. But then, let me now, basically, I don't want to bore you people. I'm going to be very brief. Okay. I listened to a number of those who spoke here about the challenges that young people face when they want to start life, want to do businesses, and so on. There was also a talk here about young people not wanting to be engaged in agriculture, which is, of course, I know it is something historical, but we must actually encourage our people to get involved in agricultural production. But we must create incentives to let the youth know that there is a reward in getting involved in agricultural production. Because what's happening here is there are several challenges in agriculture which must be confronted and dealt with. And this country is not uniform in terms of agriculture. There are some crops which are basically ethnic. You only find them in certain regions. Like if you go and tell a Luo about tea, he has never even seen a tea plant or a coffee. You're talking basically about central here, the mountain, even the Meru, Embu. You're talking about Kericho area, Nandi, part of Western and Rift Valley. If you're talking about maize, commercial maize farming, then you're mainly talking about Rift Valley. Up there. Okay. You're talking about bananas, you're talking about Kisii, mainly. Potatoes, I always say I love Meru potatoes, and Central, and so on. You're talking about fishing, then you're talking about the lake, Victoria, Lake Turkana, Naivasha, and the coast. Okay? So in each and every area has got specific crops which require attention. First is what is common, the cost of production, seeds, fertilizers, chemicals, and so on. Second, the issue of the market, access to the market, the bureaucracies that you have to deal with, and so on and so forth. You see, I've seen some reforms which are being carried out, for example, in tea sector, in the central, in the country, which need to be encouraged and proper. But then the most important thing is access to the market. And then the bureaucracy, taxation, which is too high. And then you have got other institutions which have been brought there. You've got KEBS, you've got KEFIs, you've got NEMA, and so on, which instead of encouraging are actually discouraging the farmers, and not only the farmers, even businesses generally. I is one of the founders of Kenya Bureau of Standards. I drafted the act with my other